Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this tutorial, I will guide you on how you can build your own AI chatbot like ChatGPT in Flutter and with the help of Cursor. So let's get started right away. I have browsed OpenAI API. You can enter this API platform, then you need to log in and then API platform. We will get the API key for ChatGPT. So I've already logged in. This is my account. So I will go to dashboard. From dashboard, I can either interact with chat prompts or I can here select this API keys and will generate a new API key for my app. So I will tap here and let's call it test 123, and then that's the default project. You can also restrict the scope, like who has access to it and read only, etc. That's a permission that you can set, and then you can create your secret key. So once it's created, you can copy it, right? So I will copy this key and I will store it in my project. Done. And now I will come to my cursor, and here that's the terminal. Let's create a Flutter project using Flutter create, and then it's gonna be a chat GPT app, or you can call it anything you want, right? So I've created this project, and now I need to navigate to this project. So I will go to this projects and then ChatGPT app that we created, and this is our Flutter project from which we will be building our AI chatbot. So I will just open this terminal, and this is the code. So I will remove this boilerplate code, but before that let me store my API key somewhere. So I will create a new file, and that's going to be API key dot dart, or I can also call it constant. So I will create a constant and the name will be the API key, and then I will store the API key here. So that's the key. I've stored it, and now in the main file I will come back here and I will remove this class. Instead I will create a new class, and that will be my app, and here I need to add this material app and then the home screen, or we will build a direct chat screen, right? So it will be chatbot screen. So that's the chatbot screen. Let's create a screen, chatbot screen dot dot, and here let's use this cursor to build that, right? So cursor build us a beautiful interface. So let's give it a prompt. I want to build an AI chatbot using OpenAI API. Build me a chatbot screen, and I also should mention Flutter, right? So build me a chatbot screen and a chatbot service class that interacts with OpenAI and sends and receive requests. So there will be a service class that we will create that will be used for sending and receiving request, right? And also I should manage the state. So to manage the state I can use provider. Manage the state in provider. Make sure we have a functional chatbot app that can be used just like other chatbots like ChatGPT app. So now I want to give it to cursor to build me that entire app, right? So it will also build the screen, manage the state using provider, and also create a chatbot service that will be used to send API requests to OpenAI to get responses. So let's see what cursor does for us. It's reading our project, the different files, and it will add these things step by step. So we got the to do, and it will first add these dependencies, provider and HTTP. HTTP will be used to send API requests to OpenAI for prompts, and provider will be used to manage the state. So it will add these dependencies that it has added, you can see. And After that, it will create a chatbot service class for OpenAI API, right? So let's see where it has created. This is the service, and this is the chatbot service it has created for us. You can see that's a full class that we can use to send message to OpenAI, and this is the model that it has selected that will be used to respond to our prompts, right? And I can skip this command for now, and let's move ahead and let's check our other to-dos. uh, Create chatbot provider for state management. Yes, there's a provider that has been created that will manage the state. You can see these are the messages that we send to ChatGPT and we receive from it. So these are all the chat messages, right? So these messages will be shown on the screen. And we also have the send message that in terms calls this service class and call the send message that sends the API request. And when once we receive a response, it will be added to the state, which is this messages list, and it will be shown on the screen, right? And then we also created a chatbot screen UI with modern design, and also we update main dot dot to integrate provider, right? So in the main file you can see uh, it has added this change notify provider so that the app can listen to changes from this provider, chatbot provider. So I think it's ready. You can see we have a full summary of the features that has been created, so you can read that. And let's see, let's keep keep these changes, keep preview next file, keep them as well, keep these ones. And that's the chat message, that's the model for our chat message that will be shown on the screen, right? So we have created this. Let's remove the problem. Oh, that's normal. We also need to uh, keep the UI code as well. So Cursor has created this app for us. Let me correct this file name. And now let's build the app using Flutter run command so that we can see if the app works properly or not, right? And then we will explain the working of the app, how it works, right? So starting from the main, uh, it will run on this simulator, right? So from the main file, you can see we have this run app, then we have this my app as the root widget. Then we have used chain notifier provider because we are using provider for state management. This is our state management provider for the chatbot screen, right? It will manage the state like fetching the response, right? Sending the input, prompt, etc. And then we have the material app, the standard thing, and this is the screen, the only screen we have in our app, which is the main chatbot screen. So in this screen, if you can see, we have a text editing controller for the input that we will pass to ChatGPT, right? The input field, we will use this controller for that. And we also have the scroll controller that will control the scrolling. Like once we enter a prompt, so it will scroll to a position so that we can see the ChatGPT response properly. And we also have this disposal after it's no longer needed, and it's scrolled to the bottom, right? So once we enter a prompt, so it will scroll directly to the bottom of the screen. And that's needed because when you already have response from one input and then you want to input another, so it should automatically come to the bottom so that you can see the new answer properly, right? And we have our app ready. Here you can see we have this AI chatbot. We have the input field here, we have the send button, and it says start a conversation, which looks good. We can also delete our chat with this chatbot, right? So now let's see, we will also need the API key. So that's the screen. Let me explain the screen a bit. So from the start, you can see AI chatbot text, then clear chat. And what it does, it's called this clear chat method on the chatbot provider. So if you can see, it just clears the messages, right? The messages will be shown here, our input and the response from ChatGPT. So it just clears them. And if I go back to chatbot screen, here we come down below, we have this icon, start a conversation, ask me anything, right? And down below we have this list view builder that will show the messages, right? It will show the messages here in the form of list view once we have messages. Since it's empty now, so we don't have anything to show here. And this is message input, that's where we input these messages, right? So here uh, we have a button, we have this input field that is used to enter a prompt. Here let's enter something, and you can see that's the prompt that we can enter here. So it takes this input, and once we tap on this send button, so which is this icon that send, when it is tapped, so in that case this on pressed is called, and we call the provider send message. So we are back to provider, this send message is called. So when this is called, the input message is added, the prompt is added to the messages, right? Once you tap on this, so the prompt needs to show first, and once this is added to messages, then the API is called, which is this service class send message API is called, and response is received for this input, right? So once the response is received, it's also added to the message list, so it also updates here, the response is shown here. So that's how it works. We have this list of messages, this stores both the input and the response that is received, right? So let's say I have added the first input like blah blah, this is, so it will be added first when I tap on send button, and once response is received, right, you can see it has been added first, and once we have these messages passed to this send message, then the response is received, so it will be also added to this, and it will be showed the second. Then we enter another prompt, so the third when we tap on this send button, so the third message that will be added to the list will be here, which will be our again our prompt, second prompt. And then when all those three messages goes to the API send message API service, so you can see these messages are passed, right? API a message. So in API message, you can see all the messages that we have here in the state are passed to the ChatGPT API, right? It gets all the messages and map it to this map, right? Map all those messages to this map structure, which is a role, either if it is the prompt, so the role will be user, if it is the response from ChatGPT, so the role will be assistant, and content contains the message, right? So all the messages are converted to this map and then passed to this API, right? These are passed to this service class, and in send message you can see these are passed here, and they are passed to the ChatGPT, so that it has the context like what we previously discussed, what was your response, what was the user's prompt, right? And this is the temperature, this is a parameter that we set, and it determines the randomness of the response. Like if it is 0.7, it gives the best results. So if you try to minimize this, so the answer will be creative and a more kind of like non deterministic. And if its value is high, so it's gonna give you more creative answer. So 0.7 is a value that is the optimal value, right? And this is the tokens, right? The length of the answer you want it, you can limit the token is basically like 3 or 4 characters, and ChatGPT gives you response in the form of like these tokens. So it determines the length. So if the token length is 3, so you multiply 3 with 1000, so the maximum answer your ChatGPT can give in one input prompt will be 3000 tokens. So 3000 if you multiplied with 3, sorry, it's 3, we have multiplied 1000 with 3. So if you have 1000 tokens maximum, and every token is 3 characters in length, so 3 into 1000 is 3000, so we get a 3000 characters maximum response. If it breaches this limit, so the response will be half, right? Or it will give you in this length. So here you specify the length. That's because if you increase this length, then the OpenAI consumption will be more and you will be charged more, right? So we have set the temperature, we have set this maximum tokens, and then we have also added the messages. It is the whole history of messages that you have done with ChatGPT. Like it includes your previous prompts and responses and the new prompt, right? And these are the headers that you set. Here you pass the API key, right? So API key is here, and this API key has been passed there. You can see its API key, and this has been used in the service, right? So this service class just contains this API request, post request, and basically it interacts with the ChatGPT API. So I hope it's clear. We have the ChatGPT or chatbot screen, and then it manages the state with provider. And after the provider, it goes to service class, and service class send request to ChatGPT with all your previous messages. And based on that, it has the context and it responds keeping the previous messages in mind, right? So let me test it out. I'll tell help me with coding a function that adds two numbers, and let's tap on this send button. You can see, so I can counter an error, you exceeded your current quota, please check your plan and billing details. Well, my free quota has been expired, completed, and now I can't send these other messages. But you have this thing, if you create a new account, then you won't have this issue, so you can just like test it. You can also send another response, give me response just to test, and let's hit enter, and you can see this one. And now if I create something else and I send it, you can see the scroll controller handles this thing. It automatically like comes to the bottom, like if I'm here and if I enter some prompt, so what the scroll controller does, it automatically brings you to the bottom of the screen, and you can see the experience is very good, you get this answer, right? So it won't be an issue for you, but you can see that's how you receive the messages. And for me, since the quota has been expired, I've already consumed all the free limit, so the message is the response isn't shown, but you can see the error is shown here. So that's how the messages will show. And this is a beautiful chatbot app that we have built. And you know the architecture, we have chatbot screen that interacts with chatbot provider to manage the state, and then chatbot provider sends request using the chatbot service. And this is the model that we use to store these messages in this chatbot provider, right? So this is the list that stores all the messages, right, that are shown here. So you can see we have these messages all shown here. These are stored in the form of these chat message models in this list, right, which is this one. Once we enter some prompt here, so the first thing that is done, we call this send message, right, on the provider. It adds this prompt to the messages list, so that's why it shows here first. And then after that, when it's added, uh, all the previous messages are converted to this map, in which the role and content properties are set. Content is the message and role is the user or assistant. Like if it's the prompt, so the role will be user. If it is the response from ChatGPT, so the role will be assistant, right? Because it shares all the previous chat with the ChatGPT API. So it creates this map containing all these fields, right, for all messages. And then all these messages are, which is this API messages, which is list of map string, right? Since these are multiple messages, uh, so here it sends the request using this method. After the request is sent and we receive a response, that response is added as a message to this message list as well. So once this is added, we have the prompt, then we have the response here. So that's how it works. And in the send message, as we see here, I can set the model, it's 3.5 turbo. You can also set chat gpt 4 or something like gpt 5, right? And what it does, it just sends a post request passing all the details, right? And this is the base url that you need for sending request to. You will send request to this url and then you will receive a response. So that's the base url that we pass in this post request. Then we set these headers, pass this api key in that we have stored here in this file. And then just in code you send the model messages, previous all messages, right? Then temperature, maximum tokens. And then if response is 200, it's okay, you get this data. And if it's not okay, then you can show this error. You can see this error is also added as like response, but it's kind of error message. And if it's success, we will see real messages, real responses from ChatGPT here, right? And this is ChatGPT returns a complex string that contains this choices field, and it is a list, and in that list you get the first message or a response, then you get this message out of it, then the content. So this content, this nested map content property is your actual response from the model, right? So that's how it works. So I hope you have learned new things, and That's how we create these AI chatbots in Flutter with OpenAI API. And with the help of Cursor, we have built this amazing, beautiful UI. If I want to delete this, you can also use this one, right? What it has done, it has just cleared this messages list, right? So we have in provider this clear chat, and it just clears this message list. Also remove the error, because we don't have anything here in the chat, and it's now a new one, right? So that's how it works. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next video, guys. Goodbye.